So my hypothetical was: would you rather have Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, right? Or would you rather have two Jalen Brunsons, no Randle, two Jalen Brunsons, and the caveat is that those two Jalen Brunsons couldn't play together? So option one is Julius and Jalen, and the Knicks at full strength. Option two is we trade Julius somewhere. We get the magic of cloning that you just used. But the NBA puts out this rule: you can't play any clones together at the same time. Sorry. What team would you rather have?
I would definitely rather have the Randall. I don't see how.
I would rather have two Jalens.
That's absurd, though. I'm sorry, that's too strong. I need to not use strong words like that. My instant reaction is that's absurd, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because you're getting 48 minutes instead of 70 minutes or whatever. So those.
What do you mean?
They can't play together.
Yes, but my point is that I think that Brunson with the surrounding cast that we have is more effective than Brunson, or just as effective than Brunson and Randle, because they clash. They bring each other down.
Fine though. I would rather have 90% of Brunson and 90% of Randle for 70 minutes than 100% of Brunson for 48 minutes. The extra 22 minutes is so valuable.
You're not getting extra minutes though. You're getting extra minutes of a less in my mind, a less efficient like offense. So like, why would you want more time to have a less good offense?
How are you not getting extra minutes?
I'm saying you're getting more time. You're getting extra minutes in total, like in terms of like just bodies being out there. But I'm saying you're getting more time of a worse product is what I'm arguing. So why would I want more time of a worse product?
I'm lost.
But okay. All right. Here, let me break it down.
Individual impact is like the most these two are playing is 24 minutes a game. They're playing 48 minutes total.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to replace. You also have to replace the other 48 minutes.
Well, you mean the other 11 minutes,
or the other 22 minutes.
All right, I'm getting lost. So this was not a good hypothetical. That's my bad.
They're averaging 30. Do you agree that Brunson and Randle are averaging 35 minutes a game right now each around?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The Brunson and Brunson clone would be capped.
Yeah, 24 each.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not capped at 24 each, but they could only play 24 if they both play the same amount.
Even if they're better, which I agree, because Brunson's better than Randle.
Yeah.
You're still getting fewer minutes. So you need to also make up for the extra minutes that you're losing, because you're getting. And
I'm saying that the Knicks have so much depth and are so good with Brunson at the helm and surrounding him. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying Brunson, DiVincenzo, OG, let's say Grimes and Hartenstein, or we can even say Hart and Hartenstein, whoever you want to put out there. I think that lineup is going to be better than Brunson, Randle, OG, Hartenstein, and Hart, or whoever it is. Like, I think that lineup's going to be better. So
and
now
I see how you're relating this back to the Cavs conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying that I'm taking out Garland instead of having Garland. Now Mitchell never leaves the court. I just always have Mitchell at full power. I don't have a tired Mitchell. I don't have a drained Mitchell. I don't have a Mitchell. Oh, he's been carrying the team. He can't keep doing this. He can't possibly keep doing this. He's going to be exhausted. No, I have a maxed out Mitchell at all times on the court always, instead of having a Garland who is redundant with Mitchell. That's my point.
Yeah.
And if you ask just real quick, I know I cut you off because you're about to talk. If you ask the Cavs this question, I think they would have to say they'd rather have two Mitchells than have a Mitchell and a Garland. The same question, because their team has been so much better without Mitchell and I mean without Garland. And I'm giving you the option to just have that all the time. Like, you just always have that. You never have to go to someone else. You never have to, okay, Mitchell's off. How do we buy him? 6 minutes. We let Garland run the team and it's not as good. Like, you just always have this maximum strength offense or overall product.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm a little flabbergasted right now. This is great. Podcast making. So I'm trying to make sense of it. Or not make sense of it. I have made sense of it. I'm trying to figure out what my answer would be, because I definitely am leaning. I see what you're saying, and I get it more now. And the Knicks do have the depth.
They
Unfortunately,
have the depth, right? Exactly. You have to have the depth.
I gotta be honest. I feel stronger about cloning OG than cloning Brunson.
Yeah, I didn't think you were gonna bring that up. The cloning OG thing is awesome. Yeah, for sure. That I feel strong because you don't even have a parameter around it. Like we could just play them together. Like it's over. If you just have two OGs, it's over. Like what? Who's gonna score? Like it's ridiculous. We have the best spacing and the best defense. Like it's over. You know. Like I feel very strongly about that. But like that's why I put that parameter because if I said you could play the Jalen's together, would you still say Julius?
Oh no, I would. The thing that's making me lean in your direction is actually them not being able to play together.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my point.
The more I think about it. Yeah.
The whole point is, who are we going to bring in? We're going to bring in Jordan Clarkson to run the team when Jalen's off the court. You're going to like torpedo the offense enough and the defense enough that like Jalen's coming in on the court, not to like build a lead or maintain a lead, to like make up for the deficit that you put the team in with Jordan Clarkson on the court. If you just had Brunson again, you wouldn't need Randle. Like that's my contention, at least. Obviously, this is a hypothetical and I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just saying what my intuition says, but this is the point that I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I have no further thoughts besides no other podcast has ever had this conversation ever. This is absurd.
That's an awesome thought, though.
But I do agree. I think I agree with you. I think I agree with you now. I think if they could play together, my initial pushback was just the minutes.
Yeah. I hear that.
And then also, obviously, like in theory, Brunson and Randle, as non-synergistic as they have been, they're more synergistic than Brunson and Brunson would be playing together. So that was my initial pushback. But the caveat of they're not allowed to play together, and it's just, okay, you're building a team that somehow is getting super Brunson for 48 minutes a game, and you just have to find
maximum Brunson for the entirety of the game, yeah.
And you just have to find shooting, because it's almost like, now that you've shined a light on it, it's almost like because you have the second initiator and they do play together sometime, you're not getting the maximum version of either of them when they do play together.
Exactly. These are all the things that I'm trying to get at with the hypothetical. I know it was confusing. I'm sorry that it was. No,
but you got me there. This is like helping me realize football sucks. You know, this is that version of that.
Yeah,
I get it.
That
now.
won't be the intro.
I wish this is the inverse of when I tried to explain the door question.
The Monty Hall problem.
The Monty Hall problem.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, your way of explaining sucks. I guess this is what we're figuring out. I'm bad at explaining and you're good at it. You're
No, it didn't work, clearly. It was a terrible way of explaining it. But yeah, I think you're getting at all the themes that you're getting at all the themes that I'm trying to like talk about with this hypothetical, right? The idea that part of the issue is that you're getting this watered down player. And that's why I even believe that you could even ask it in a different way. Would you rather have Brunson and Booker instead of Randle, but they can't play together? Like I would still rather have Brunson and Booker than have Brunson and Randle who can play together. Like I would that's the choice I would make. Brunson and Mitchell, I'd rather have Brunson and Mitchell than Brunson and Randle. Like, you know what I mean? That even if they couldn't play together. That's how I feel about it.
So you're just really down on the minutes that Brunson and Randle do play together.
I think they play really well together. It's not even like that they don't play together. I think that they play really well together in spite of their lack of cohesion. And the reason is because they're both really good players. This sounds like I'm so down on Randle. I think Randle's really good. I just think that I'm down on the idea that you need two primary initiators in spite of the fact that they don't have this cohesive, synergistic like connection. That's what I'm down on. That's where I'm coming from.
Isn't there something to the idea that like let's use an old Nick. Let's use Quickly, because I think Quickly is like one of those additive pieces that's just good with anyone.
Yeah.
I think it's inarguable that Quickly would be a better fit with Randle than Brunson is. Like they would elevate each other on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
But right now, as current players, isn't Brunson enough better that it overrides the fit games.
Yeah,
That like
I think so.
90% of Brunson and 90% of Randall is still better than 100% of Quickly and 100% of Randall.
I think so.
That,
Yeah, I think so.
so
It's close, but I think so.
yeah. And that's probably why, you look at some of the on-off data, and I know that's noisy, but like Quickly and Randall outperformed Brunson and Randall,
Exactly.
when they played together. Like it's weird to say, but like
Right.
but still, I do think, we can put Quickly back in Toronto. He doesn't need to, wish him the best, but he doesn't need to be. The point is that I do think that, like, even though, to your point, because Brunson and Randall aren't synergistic, they're not maximizing themselves in the way they would if you put a role player 3-and-D guy next to Randall as the point guard, or, a role player or an OG clone in Randall's place. Just because Brunson isn't 100% maximized right now the way he would be in that iteration of the team, that doesn't mean they're not still better, right? Like, it's still possible that the skill is so overwhelming that they're still just better, even if it's not optimal.
I agree. Yes, that's exact. I 100% agree with that. Yeah. I'm just saying my thesis, my intuition says that they would be better, but I can't prove that, of course.
Yeah, and I do think that, like, you're moving me closer towards, right now, the ideal team build is 2 synergistic stars who can elevate one another.
Agreed.
But if you can't have that, then maybe just one carrying the load and then surrounding him with additive pieces could be the second most optimal team build.
100%. That's what I'm going for. Second most optimal, because I agree with you. Jokic and Murray, Embiid and Maxey, that's ideal. That's like what you go for. You're not going to beat that. But I'm just talking about second most because it's really hard to get two guys that are that good and that work cohesively together. And in the possessions that I looked at, teams lineups with over full 5-man lineups with over 250 possessions, the best lineup was the one with Embiid and Maxey and other guys that fit around them. Like, by far, they were destroying the league, right? Like, and that just makes sense. But guess what? Who else is there? Lineups where that is not the case. You have actually the third best lineup was the Pacers with Obi Toppin and Bruce Brown. Like, it's just I just think that that's the second best way to build a team if you can't get the first.
And this actually, maybe we're getting to the point a little bit late, but this actually raises a really interesting point about big threes in general. Because, like, ever since Allen and KG went to Boston, big threes in the NBA has always been such a talking point. But if you look at the ones that failed and the ones that were successful, the ones that failed were the ones where all 3 guys were guys who needed the balls in their hands. And then the few that actually were successful, like the current Clippers, like the Heat, like the Cavs, and like the Celtics, it took somebody taking a back seat and finding other ways to, and almost taking on that role player role. Like, Ray Allen, basically, if you ask a modern NBA fan what Ray Allen was, nobody has any idea what he could do in Milwaukee, how good he was with the ball in his hand, because he became basically an off-ball shooter in Boston, and KG became basically just an interior defender who occasionally shot. But they both had to take a step back, and Paul Pierce was the guy whose initiation, and Rondo, the rise of Rondo, he was a point guard, so all of a sudden the initiating was reduced. You look at the Heat, the Heatles, Bosch, his usage just disappeared, and what he was in Toronto was nothing like what he was in Miami. If Bosch didn't figure out how to be such an important cog of their defense, he would have fallen even further behind, because that was so firmly Wade and LeBron's team. And then you have, the Nets, which obviously they didn't play enough, but they basically, none of them, like Harden's answer to sacrifice was, I'll just be the point guard. But it's like, yeah, you're still gonna have the ball a bunch. Like, you still need to figure out there's only one basketball. And I guess the point is that, to your point, 2 is optimal, but if even one with role players can work, then there's no way three initiators is going to work. And the Knicks tried for a very long time to make it work, but I just don't see that happening really.
And we see those dividends from moving an RJ Barrett. And this is why I'm so fortunate and happy to do a pod with someone who has such an incredible memory, because all of those situations that you mentioned off of your memory historically, all of those players or some of those players are becoming lesser versions of themselves to maximize team success. But they're just so good that this lesser version of themselves, it still like creates an amazing like player, right? Like they can play that role. And they're so good and they're so multi-talented that they can play that role and still be the best at that role. But is that maximizing that individual's player impact on the team? No. And my point is the best team builds is where no one has to become a lesser version of themselves. And that we see that obviously when two primary creators are perfectly synergistic and they work well together, no one has to become a lesser version of themselves. But when we don't have that, someone does. And that's why I'm proposing that the alternative, the second best build, is still a scenario where no one has to become a lesser version of themselves. You just have less players who are, redundant and everybody can be maximum themselves. And I think that's how you get the best out of a team, unless you have guys that are just so good that their lesser version is still better than anyone else who would play in that role.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction to make, because of course you can make, like if you could have 3 LeBron Jameses, none of them would be the best version of themselves, but give me 3 LeBron Jameses, I'll be
exactly
fine with that. You know, like
because he's just so good and multi-skilled that he could do that. He could impact the game in all these different ways. You have one maximum defensive monster LeBron James. You'd have one, high playmaking LeBron James. You have one like spotting up and cutting and dunking LeBron James. Like he can do all those things, and he's still not being his maximum self, but he's still able to take on those roles at such a high level.
And I think this is your point about the Knicks, is that like RJ wasn't good enough to not be maximized. Like what we're seeing in Toronto right now is him being maximized, and he's been good in Toronto, all the metrics are pointing upwards, but it wasn't optimal or close to it for the Knicks to say, okay, RJ, we already know you have like this limited skill set, but what if we also made you a worse version of yourself? Like it's not fair to him and it's not ideal for the Knicks. So it should have been more obvious that replacing him with OG, well, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we both went on podcasts this offseason and said that would be a really easy trade to make. But it should have been, it was very clear that like replacing a suboptimal facsimile, or whatever the fuck that word is.
Facsimile.
Words. Facsimile of RJ Barrett, someone basically being asked to be OG Anunoby would be worse than just being OG Anunoby than getting the real OG Anunoby.
Exactly. 100%.
And I think you mean that with Randle almost too. Like as long as you have an elite initiator, like at a certain point, Randle is going to be asked to be OG Anunoby when Brunson's dancing. And in the possessions Brunson is doing his thing, the players playing off him, they are at their best when they're elevating Brunson's ability to be his best player. And of course, OG Anunoby would be a bigger threat off the ball than even Julius Randle. Well, Julius Randle's not shooting well this year, but even like a good shooting Julius Randle, when he's shooting 38%, still not the threat off the ball that OG Anunoby is.
Yeah, and I think Randle does command so much attention just based on his offensive ability that you're still like, he still creates gravity even if you don't think he's going to shoot, because if you let him catch it and have like a runway ahead of him, he still can do some damage. So he's still going to command respect from a defense, but we're just talking about, who's going to be better for the offense, a second OG or a Julius Randle? We're not talking about defense, because clearly there's no discussion to have there. When you're talking about it's questionable on offense, and then you throw in the defense, it makes it not even a question, because defensively, obviously, OG is going to provide 3 times the amount of defensive impact that Randle's going to. So